we are in a very strange place in society where we are never more connected than we are right now through social media, through interglobal communications, and yet simultaneously never more lonely. And that is, it sounds like a paradox, and yet those two things can both be true at the same time. We can be simultaneously more connected and more lonely, more isolated. When we isolate ourselves, either intentionally or unintentionally, when we are by ourselves thinking that we are alone, that starts to have an impact on our spiritual health. It starts to have an impact on our emotional health, on our psychological health, on our physical health, our mental health. And we begin to believe that there's no way out of that chasm. Housing is part of what dignity looks like in action. To have a safe place to lay your head at night, to have a place to call your own, that is a part of dignity, of agency, of being able to have self-worth. And so we really see that's a part of the mission of what we're doing. We are social beings. We are biologically designed to be in community, and that looks different ways for different people. You know, there are extroverts who have to be around people all day, every day in order to thrive. There are introverts that like to be around people but then need some silent space. I count myself among those people of needing a quiet place to recharge the batteries. But the fact remains, we are all social creatures, biologically created to be in that community. I think what I would want to focus on is I would want to think particularly of those who are in housing situations where they live alone. You know, when we hear on the news of income-based housing for a family of four, that's one of the go-to statistics, right? We're looking at a family of four, what an income need it is for housing for a family of four, or a single income with kids, or what have you. And that's all well and good. I think housing, again, housing and dignity go hand in hand. Everyone needs a place to live. It seems like often lost in the shuffle of all of the conversations of those families of four that need housing are those single individuals who have lived alone, or for whatever reason, whether they are widowed, whether they have been single all their lives, what have you, find themselves alone. We tend to overlook that, right? And their needs are the same and yet also different. I think, again, going back into the understanding of community and the need for relationship, the need for building relationships and seeing themselves as a part of the fabric of the community is even greater when you are in a home where there's no one else to talk to, right? And so I think if I had a magic wand to solve a housing situation, it would be to address the isolation and the potential for loneliness for all of those who are living alone, who are on the margins, who are barely making ends meet or unable to find safe housing. Our involvement in seeking housing began several years ago with a fundraising effort in-house and with friends in the neighborhood, seeking support for one of our own members to find safe and affordable housing that they so desperately needed. And so over the past couple of years, we've been raising money in whatever way we could, especially individual donations and through mission efforts here at the church, seeking to find ways to bring safe, affordable housing to a reality in a time that it seemed like it was just a pipe dream. It's been a labor of love. So first, there's the aspect of financing, right? Just because you have raised thousands of dollars towards a housing project does not mean that a housing project will naturally just come into fruition, right? There are all sorts of other legal responsibilities and, rent and income responsibilities, lot rents, all sorts of policies and procedures that if you are not a housing expert, you might not be aware of those things. And so we need a partner to figure out how to take the money that we have raised and figure out a creative solution to package that all together into a housing model that is sustainable. I can imagine a community dedicated to those needs. I've seen in the news the headlines of other cities around the country that have had tiny home communities, for example, built in the parking lot of a church that once had 1,000 members and now has 80 members, right? That parking lot becomes restructured and rethought, reimagined as a community of tiny homes. And ostensibly, most of those tiny homes have 1 or maximum 2 people living in it. That community then looks like a community built upon relationships, because people are in a similar situation and they get to be together on that journey and get to be community for one another. TJ Remaley, I'm the pastor of Southminster Presbyterian Church in Boise, Idaho.